Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I have another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we're talking about My Husband by Ventura. First of all, look at this cover. I feel like this cover gives you a good idea of the kind of unhinged you're stepping into with this book. The art's beautiful though. Now, I picked up this book because I've kind of been on a bit of a trajectory with really being into like weird books with weird or unhinged women, and I heard about this one and I was like, I need to read this next. I need to. And so that's what I did. It's literally 2 o'clock in the morning and I just finished reading it. And I contemplated going to bed, but I was like, no, I need to film this now while all the thoughts are still fresh, because this is a lot. So if you're new to my channel, how the book talks work, they're different than the spoiler-free book reviews because these books are out. They've been out for a while maybe, and we're going to get into all of the details, the spoilers. But I'll give you a warning before we get into those so you can click away if you don't want to hear them. Anyway, My Husband is about a woman. She is unnamed. She's our unnamed narrator. We are inside of her head. And she is obsessed with her husband. She's so obsessed with her husband. He also doesn't have a name, first of all. He's just my husband, my husband, my husband. And it gets to the point where the words my and husband lose all meaning because you've seen them so many times. She's obsessed with him, but in the kind of way that it's like she's rarely pleased with him. Like, she's obsessed, but it's in this way that she also has an idea of the way he should / must react to her, the things she says, the things she does. And if he doesn't, she gets very upset with him. And so when the book starts off, we're getting a look at, we'll say present day, where he comes to her and he's like, we need to talk. And this sort of kicks off the whole thing where she's like, he's about to leave me. She's panicked. And then we go back in time to the beginning of the week, to Monday. And the book is broken up into the days of the week. Now, when I say obsessed, I mean, it got to the point where I was like, are there people like this out there in the world? Like, I'm married. I've been married for 20 years. And I can't imagine the level of exhaustion that would come from the way this woman feels about her husband. The way that she obsesses over every single detail. It's no way to live, that's for sure. But I wonder, are there people like that out there? Anyway, so like I said, she's obsessed, but not in the way that, he can do no wrong. It's kind of the opposite. And from there, we just get a look at every single day as this woman is moving through this week, and it's even hard to know what to say and what not to say in this non-spoiler section. She's got a lot of thoughts about love, and there's a lot of things that she says that makes you kind of stop and think about them. And you're like, no. But then for a minute you're like, well, but then you're like, no. Is the best way I can describe it. It's unhinged. She's unhinged. But you just know that she's doing the best that she can. Anyway, listen, if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to click away, because there's not much else I can tell you aside from this is a book about a woman who's obsessed with her husband. Oh, our lip colors kind of match a little. Anyway, click away if you don't want spoilers. If this sounds like something you would like to read, I would recommend reading it. And if you do, come back when you're done and tell me what you thought. But now, beat it. We're going to get into the spoilers. Normally this non-spoilery part is longer, but there's just nothing else I can tell you. Okay, now that they're gone, we can get into it. So, like I said, she's obsessed, and she keeps a detailed record of every perceived slight against her that he does. So like, they're at a dinner party and the group of them are playing a game of like, if I was a fruit, what kind of fruit would I be? Which I have to tell you resulted in me asking the people in my life what kind of fruit I would be if I was a fruit. Anyway, her husband says that she would be a clementine, which, funnily enough, before I got to that answer, I gave that answer to my sister as to what fruit she would be. Anyway, this woman, she takes it offensively. She thinks it's a supermarket fruit, like a winter fruit, which I think a winter fruit's a special fruit, actually, because you more think of summer for fruit growth. So a winter fruit, that would be an extra special kind of fruit in my mind. Anyway, she's not having it, especially when the question moves to the other wife in the party, and her husband calls her a pineapple. She gets very, very upset about that internally. All of this is internal. She gets mad, but she keeps it to herself. But she keeps a notebook, like I said, where she keeps all of her perceived slights, and then she generates in her mind a appropriate punishment that she doles out to him. And it's all kept in a notebook. She's constantly worried that he's having an affair. They have these 2 children that she never really wanted, and she's not exactly good at motherhood. Like, she loves these kids, but she's not really interested in them, if that makes sense. And those parts I found especially difficult to read, because as a mother, I don't relate to that, and it made me so sad for those kids. But luckily, you know, they've got a dad that's attentive and present, where she's definitely more cold and reserved than he is in that regard. We also learn more about her. Like, the book, there's not a lot of plot. There's a lot of thoughts. So, like, she's worried that he's having an affair, but she is having affairs. She looks at it, she justifies it in her mind as she has so much, like, obsession within herself with this man that she needs to spread it around. Like, the romance that she needs from him, that she doesn't get from him, by the way, she needs to spread it around to sort of relieve herself and him of this stress in some way. So occasionally she'll strike up a flirtation with a man, and then she will meet him in a hotel and have an affair with him. And she looks at it, she says, you know, she doesn't feel guilty because she's doing it for them. Which is weird. We also learn a lot about her inner workings. Like, she relates colors to days of the week. Like, I think it's Thursday that's yellow, and like Saturday's red. And that's something that's so ingrained in her that even when she was a kid, she's always thought this way. She shares a memory where when she was little and in school, she accidentally said yellow for Thursday, went on a school field trip, and her teacher thought it was funny, and that's kind of when she realized that not everybody has these associations. So you can really tell as we're going through this book that this woman is suffering from probably undiagnosed mental illness, because there's no mention of diagnosis or medication or anything like that. So she's just kind of going throughout her life, doing the best she can with what she has. And, you know, she compares their relationships to everyone that she knows. Like, when they're at that dinner party, she's trying to see how they stack up against other couples that she sees. She notices the couple when they're at the party sharing a kiss in the kitchen, and she chalks that up to them having nothing to say to each other. Like, for her and her husband, they converse a lot, and you get the feeling that he's not very affectionate. He's very withholding, even with words like I love you, and they're so rare that when she thinks she hears them, she kind of has to go and try to confirm from him that she did in fact hear them. And often he's like, I never said that. And you're like, okay, that's weird. And this woman, she's in her 40s, or she's exactly 40, but we're, you know, despite that, not despite that, I was gonna say despite that, she's very beautiful. Not despite that, there are many, many beautiful women who are in their 40s. So she's in her 40s, and she's also very beautiful. And we know that she knows that, and everyone who meets her knows that. And a lot of the upkeep that she does, like for her physical appearance, like even down to like her hair color. When she met him, she had bleached blonde hair. And somebody mentioned kind of in passing to her, like, oh, you're just his type. He loves blondes. So she maintains this hair color, but in a way where she tries to keep it from him, because she doesn't want him to know that she's not a natural blonde. And she even goes so far as like hiding the products in their closet so that he won't have any reason to guess that she's not a natural blonde. It's a lot. It's a lot. Another thing that we learn from her is that when she's in bed, every night when she's in bed, laying next to him, she gets incredibly itchy. Every time I read a part where it detailed her itchiness, I got itchy. And she gets itchy. Her stomach, her arms, her legs, every part of her is itching when she's laying next to him. And she has so many problems with him. Like, he likes to sleep with the shutters closed, whereas she would prefer to sleep with them open so that she can sort of wake up to the sun coming in. And like, he will never give her that. He will never let her have that. He's like, no, I need the shutters closed. And so one morning she wakes up and she tests it. Like, she opens the shutters while he's still asleep, and he doesn't wake up, even though he insists that he cannot sleep. And that's something that drives her crazy, and she thinks about it every day. How for the past 15 years that they've been together, she hasn't been allowed to wake up to natural lighting. So it's a lot, and she's a lot. And her, in like I said, like, it would be so exhausting to have to live like this, to constantly, every single day, be trapped in this kind of world inside your head where you are constantly questioning everything about your relationship at all times. At all times. I can't even imagine. It sounds absolutely awful. So then, as she's panicking throughout this entire week about what it is, well, no, she's not panicking this entire week. I'm panicking. As I'm reading, I'm panicking this entire week about what her husband has to say to her. She doesn't know until the day of. So the book starts at Monday. It's on Sunday when he says to her, we need to talk. So I've been panicking this whole time. My anxiety is through the roof reading this book. So finally we get to Sunday, and he either says it to her Saturday night or Sunday morning. I can't remember, even though I've just finished it. I think it might have been Sunday morning. Anyway, so now she's panicking. She's sure that he's going to leave her. And she's like getting ready. She's making plans. She figures he's found her notebook where she's written down his crimes and the corresponding punishments. And she's like, oh my God, like he's going to know all about it, and he's going to leave. So that's what she thinks is happening. And then when we finally get to the end, the thing that he wants to talk to her about is having a third baby. And she's so relieved. She's like, yes, let's do that as soon as possible. And then the book kind of ends, and then there's the epilogue. The epilogue. The epilogue is from the husband's point of view, and it's confirming what she thought. Not that you don't really get the vibe that he recently found the notebook with the crimes and punishments, but he knows about it. And in fact, for God only knows how long, he's been, so throughout the book you think she's manipulating him with these crimes and punishments, but then when you get to the end you realize that he's been manipulating her this whole time with his crimes and then taking the punishments, and he's keeping her on her feet. He's driving her crazy with the shit he does because he knows it will drive her crazy. He knows what she wants, what she needs, what she's yearning for from him, and he's intentionally withholding it. So like from her point of view, when you're reading it from her point of view throughout the book, you think like it's being withheld from her, but you don't fully think it's intentional. And then when you get to that epilogue, you're told it's intentional. He even gets to the point where he's like, listen, he knows all about her dalliances, including one at their daughter's birthday party towards the end of the book where she sleeps with her best friend's husband in the bathroom of her and her husband's house because during the birthday party she thought her husband was flirting with her best friend. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Anyway, so in the epilogue we learn that the husband knows all about this, all about it. All the dalliances, this and the other thing. And then he's even like, oh, I found out about a sort of undetectable form of new male birth control. I'm going to take that so that she doesn't get pregnant, and she starts to panic and worry and again fret that I'm going to leave her for a younger woman who can give me this desired third child. And then when she's about to lose her mind, I'll go off the birth control and then get her pregnant. What? Anyway, you know what? These two, my husband and my wife, they're a match made in, I don't know where, but they deserve each other. They're both incredibly likable and absolute messes in the worst possible way. That said, I really liked the book. I would recommend, if you like those like weird, unlikable, unhinged characters, this is that in droves. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. Even though it gave me anxiety to read it, like I mentioned earlier. There were many times I was like, I could feel the sort of panic roiling around in my chest, but especially as we got to the end. Once I was like 10 pages out from the epilogue, I really started to get nervous, as she was so nervous about what he was going to say. I was so nervous about what he was going to say, and boy oh boy, what a ride. So that's My Husband, by Maud Ventura. I think I said this at the beginning. Maybe I didn't. It was originally a French novel. It was translated by Emma Ramadan. I love that. Oh, one other thing that's interesting, speaking of translated novel, the narrator in this, she's a teacher, but she works for a publishing house as a translator. And the way that she would talk about the nuance to translating a novel, I really, really enjoyed that, because I'm sure it's a very difficult task. You have to take words and phrases phrases that probably don't have a direct translation and find a way to word them so that it makes sense in the same way that it makes sense in the original language. What an art. What a skill. And I liked that, knowing that this was a translated book. I liked that sort of discussion with it. So there you go. If you've read My Husband, I was going to say my wife, My Husband. If you've read My Husband, let me know what you thought of it. I would love to hear your thoughts, whether you loved it, whether you hated it. And I'll see you guys again real soon. Next up is going to be another book talk, and it's going to be on The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And I'll see you guys then.